Okay, thank you, Mr. President. We will begin with an overview of the projected facility needs for 2015-2016. The number of projected classrooms added are inflated for planning maximum facility needs. Consequently, they are not the same as the figures used for staff planning. Dr. Virgil will present the overview. Dr. Virgil?
Thank you, Dr. Williams. In preparing for this year's facility analysis, we first looked at what space is available by visiting school sites. Thank you, sir. And studying how this year's utilization of space compares to previous years. Even though we list a site as having a space available, that does not mean that the space is currently vacant, but rather we identify what arrangements could be made to free up a classroom. Next, we looked at enrollment projections and translated them into space requirements. Then we reconciled the difference between the space available and the space requirements. This page shows the information for each site. The numbers shown as projected maximum classroom spaces needed include projected growth or decline. Enrollment this year is down slightly. With almost 90% of our first 100 days counted, we are on track to have an overall decrease of approximately 1.8%. Looking into the future, you can see that we've room available. And to keep things in perspective, in the years we've had significant growth, we welcome the additional funds that it brought, but it also stressed our sites as we added classrooms for a student population that exceeded the original building capacities. Enrollment figures and projections will be reassessed in April, and if necessary, we'll modify this plan to ensure that all needs for classroom space are met throughout the district at the start of school. Subject to your questions, that concludes this portion of the study session.
Move on to rewarding excellence in instruction and leadership.
This evening, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Michael Rivera, will give an update on our participation in the REIL Grant and its impact on the Alhambra School District. Mr. Rivera?
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Mr. President, members of the board, and Dr. Williams, it's a pleasure to have this opportunity to share Alhambra's continuing progress as an original member district participating in the Rewarding Excellence in Instruction and Leadership Grant, also known as the REIL Grant. We have entered into year 5 of the 5-year grant, and the partnership between the Alhambra School District and the Maricopa County Education Service Agency. We've worked diligently to develop and implement the grant, and as a result, we've experienced tremendous successes during the first 4 years. Now in the final year of the 5-year grant, we continue working to refine and improve upon our many successes and look forward to even greater accomplishments this year. Let's remind ourselves why we are moving in this direction and some of the important events that have taken place and will continue to take place. We all know that the single most important factor in a student's learning is the teacher. And 60% of the impact on the quality of a child's educational experience can be directly attributed to teachers and principals' effectiveness. Therefore, it goes without saying that there can be no compromising when it comes to a teacher's and a principal's ability to deliver a quality educational experience to each and every student. Historically, teacher evaluation scores have differed only slightly from teacher to teacher, despite the tremendous range of abilities and levels that they demonstrate, failing to distinguish great teachers from good teachers from those who are fair, and the average teacher from those who struggle has been a long-term problem within the profession of education, until now. In Alhambra, we are fully utilizing a teacher observation instrument and an evaluation process that effectively distinguishes levels of teacher performance. Our ability to recognize discrete levels of performance and target specific areas of professional need support the district's never-ending efforts to provide, retain, train, and promote effective teachers throughout our district. Our performance-based evaluation structure focuses on a dual-purpose system that meets the needs of an effective human resources operation and also provides vital data to guide professional development. That is, professional development designed to improve educator effectiveness and increase student learning. This all-encompassing performance management system fully meets the requirements of Arizona Revised Statute 15-203 and has positioned Alhambra, our district, to be at the forefront of Arizona's mandate to comprehensively reform educator evaluation and performance-based compensation. As you know, Arizona law requires teacher evaluation systems that include both classroom observation data and student achievement data. Alhambra's teacher evaluation structure, in partnership with REIL's performance management system, combines teachers' performance data from both of these categories, resulting in a comprehensive picture of a teacher's performance. The final outcome leads to annual placement in one of 4 teacher performance classifications of educator effectiveness. The 4 classifications of effectiveness are approved and mandated by Arizona's State Board of Education. The framework for educator effectiveness allows school districts in Arizona to use a range of student academic progress from 33 to 50% when evaluating teachers. In Alhambra, student achievement results account for 50% of a teacher's annual outcome and performance classification. As I shared in the Alhambra model, 50% of a teacher's annual evaluation outcome is tied to his or her students' achievement results. However, please note that the 50% includes individual, team, and school-level data. The remaining 50% is based on the teacher's annual observation results. In order to impact instruction and learning, Alhambra now utilizes 3 observation tools: the Learning Observation Instrument, or LOI, for teachers, the Leading Observation Instrument, or LDOI, for school leaders, and the Coaching Observation Instrument, or COI, for district coaches. The results of each observation are entered into an electronic data capture tool in our Human Resources Department. Data is then analyzed and utilized in the calculation and the determination of effectiveness and annual performance pay. The observation instruments were designed to capture the complexities and nuances of instruction, coaching, and leadership. Cumulative results are placed along a range of performance scores, resulting in placement into one of the 4 educator effectiveness levels. This is done annually as required by our State Board of Education. As an individual professional, educators have strengths and opportunities for professional growth that are unique to themselves. This is where the Educator Goal Plan, or EGP, becomes a supportive tool. As opposed to a performance improvement plan that is specifically designed for a struggling educator, the Educator Goal Plan is a tool designed to develop talent in teachers through a sustainable, comprehensive program of performance-based evaluation and targeted support. And now a few of our accomplishments during year 4 and the beginning of this year, year 5. We are providing training on an ongoing basis to ensure our staff are informed and well prepared to meet the rigors of Alhambra's observation and evaluation processes. Observation and evaluation data is now captured electronically and stored for analysis and calculation purposes. Teachers are observed 3 times each school year. Having multiple observation data points adds to the reliability of the annual outcome. We continue working collaboratively with peer evaluators whose expertise in specialized content adds to the richness and specificity of the feedback we can now provide our teachers. Co-observation cohorts and calibration cadres ensure that our evaluators' observation findings are both valid and reliable, leading to accurate and specific recommendations for improvement and refinement. As you can see, Alhambra's partnership with Makisa under the umbrella of the REIL Grant is having a profound impact on teacher instruction and student learning. We are proud of the many significant accomplishments made to this point. and look forward to even more successes as we approach the conclusion of this most remarkable opportunity we have come to know as the REIL Grant. And that concludes my presentation, subject to any questions you may have.
I'd like to also acknowledge the presence of Amanda Jellison this evening, our REIL field specialist. Thank you for being here, Ms. Jellison. Mara and Missy. Tonight's presentation will provide an overview of Arizona's measurement of educational readiness to inform teaching. AZMerit, the state's new assessment for student achievement in English language arts and mathematics. Items to be discussed include information on how the assessment aligns to Arizona's college and career ready standards, sharing of sample items, and the implementation process, timeline, and support technology requirements. Thank you, Mara, Assistant Superintendent Academic Services, and Missy, Director of Curriculum.
Good evening, President Zamora, members of the board, and Dr. Williams. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to provide you information on the transition to the new state achievement assessment to be taken this spring. We will provide you general information about the assessment, the implementation process, and share sample items to provide an overview of AZMerit. For some background, state and federal laws require statewide standards and statewide student achievement assessments. These assessments must be aligned to the adopted standards. So AZMerit's story actually begins with the adoption of our current statewide standards. As we know, and we've been hearing about, these are more focused on rigor, critical thinking, deeper understanding, and problem solving. So the goal is to better prepare students for their post-high school future, whether that's college or career. These standards require a different approach to instruction and an assessment that's aligned to this type of instruction.
The State Board of Education, which is required by state law to adopt a statewide achievement assessment, must follow state procurement law when awarding a statewide testing contract. Procurement law requires a competitive bid process to ensure that the selection of the vendor for the statewide assessment is fair and best meets the need of the state and its taxpayers. Therefore, an RFP was released in June. 6 responses had been received when the RFP closed on July 25, 2014. An independent evaluation team that included employees of local schools and organizations was assembled to review vendor proposals and score the proposal in terms of the requirements listed in the RFP. The evaluation team unanimously recommended the private nonprofit American Institute for Research, AIR, to provide the new statewide achievement assessment for English language arts and mathematics, now known as AZMerit. AIR is a private nonprofit organization with 37 years experience in K-12 educational assessments. The Arizona Department of Education, ADE, is responsible for implementation of AZMerit. ADE is working with AIR to develop the assessment that is uniquely an Arizona test that measures Arizona standards. It is aligned to the current, more rigorous English language arts and mathematics standards and has been designed as a computer-based assessment which uses innovative item types beyond multiple choice items that are better able to measure deeper understanding and critical thinking skills.
Great care was taken with the creation of the Arizona Merit Blueprints. Blueprints are brief documents that show how the standards are represented on the test. They tell you what percentage of a student's score will be aligned to certain strands or domains. So for example, here's a 5th grade ELA blueprint, and on that assessment it shares that there will be a minimum of 26% and a maximum of 35% of a student's score will be based on the reading standards for literature. That same range is shown for informational text, and this reflects the 50-50 split that is part of the standards at that grade 5 grade level. On the math sample blueprint example, you can see that they show a minimum of 38% and a maximum of 42% of a student's score will be based on the operations and algebraic thinking domain. Approximately 70% of the assessment in math will align to what's been identified as the major content areas and 30% to the supporting content areas. Blueprints for each grade level are available on the AZMerit website. So, who will take AZMerit? Students in grade 3 through high school will take the test. This includes all English language learner students and most students with disabilities. Students that have significant cognitive disabilities, they will participate in a new alternative achievement test called the NIXIS instead of AZMerit, and it too is computer-based. There is no statewide achievement test for grade 2 students at this time.
Students in grades 3 through 8 will be assessed in English language arts and mathematics at their grade level. Students enrolled in high school level English or math courses will take a corresponding end of course assessment regardless of their grade. AIMS science testing is still in place for students in grades 4 and 8. Because there are no paper materials to ship to the district and then ship back to the vendor for scoring, the testing window for computer-based testing is several weeks longer than the testing window for AIMS. This longer testing window allows for much more flexibility in the scheduling of the test. While the testing window opens March 30th, we will be developing an assessment schedule that corresponds to the start of the former AIMS window that begins the week of April 6th. Arizona's current standards call for students to show a deeper understanding and critical thinking skills. Computer-based assessments are better able to measure these skills due to the interactive types of test items available. In addition to these innovative test items, AZMerit will also include audio features in the computer-based test. Computer-based assessments are designed with usability for all in mind. There are accessibility features available for all students, and a greater variety of accommodations for students with disabilities and English language learners than is what is available for paper-based testing. For example, a special education student who can have a math portion of the test read to them can assess with headphones and remain with the class. Details about AZMerit's accessibility features and available accommodations and guidance for their use will be coming soon.
AIMS had 4 score levels: falls far below, approaches, meets, and exceeds. And meets and exceeds were passing scores. The number of score levels for AZMerit and what they would be called is still under discussion. However, we do expect that AZMerit will have at least 2 passing score levels. A passing score on AZMerit will mean that a student is on track for college or career upon graduation. This is a higher expectation for a passing score than AIMS, and higher expectations mean that there may be a decline in the number of students passing AZMerit as compared to AIMS. A lower score on AZMerit does not necessarily mean that a student is performing below average in school. It also does not mean that teachers are doing a poor job of teaching. It's more likely the result of an increased rigor of the standards and higher expectations of the passing score. As we saw with AIMS, we expect that scores on AZMerit are going to increase over time. In addition, AZMerit does provide links to other tests to support comparisons of student achievement levels. Achievement levels on AZMerit will be comparable with Utah, Florida, and those states that you can see listed that are in the Smarter Balance Consortium. In this first year, student achievement results and data will not be provided to schools until after the start of the 2015 school year, as the state will need to conduct the standard setting process. The state is predicting a 20 to 30% drop in results as we transition to the new standards. After AZMerit's first administration this spring, computer-based testing will offer much faster results, and we actually expect them before the end of the school year in years to come. The State Board of Education voted to approve safe harbor for letter grades this year, along with proposed changes to the accountability system. It suspends the system for 2 years. First, as they develop a new letter grade system this school year, and pilot the accountability system next school year. In addition, there will be no retention based on Move On with Reading legislation for third graders falling far below on AZMerit at the end of this school year because we won't have the results back. Schools must provide intervention strategies to students who were promoted to 4th grade, and once we receive scores, determine if they were falls far below on AZMerit.
ADE has an AZMerit website, and we are pleased to say and tell you that all the items viewed and all support materials and trainings listed, we have provided for our teachers over the last 3 years. In addition, they have posted interactive sample items, and they are currently available. These sample items were designed to help students become familiar with taking a computer-based assessment. An AZMerit sample test will be available in the coming months. In order to better understand the assessment, we will take you through a quick tour of an ELA and math sample test. We're going to begin with the ELA assessment for 5th grade.
We pick kind of a middle.
Just don't make too hard.
We did mention that the ELA assessment is interactive. Today you're going to view a sample which students would watch one video and they would read 2 passages on a specific content and then answer several question types. The first type, students will need to watch a video. They can stop, pause, listen, and go back at any time. They will need to answer 2 questions related to the video, part A and part B. Both sections must be answered correctly for the students to get fair credit.
It's interactive. I know.
Kind of bouncing you. Secondly, this section is also a 2-part question, where students will have to identify evidence to support their answer in part A. And they have to identify the evidence shown or heard in the video to support the answer. So this question is 2 parts and evidence related. This question again relates to the video. And students will need to select the correct statements, place them in the correct order, and also determine which 2 statements do not belong. So this requires students to synthesize and analyze the information in the video to determine the correct answer. They will also need to drag and drop. Finally, this sample question is an example of the text portion. Students again would have to read the section and answer a 2-part question. And in this case, they have to highlight the evidence read in the text to determine their answer. Multiple technical skills would be required for students. Yep.
If I could just ask a question.
Sure.
As somebody who suffers from lots of tech issues, say all the power happens to go out in the middle of this and all the computers shut out, are the students able to get back to where they were in this? Okay.
Yes. And we've also determined, we've done a technical requirement test required by ADE, and all our schools showed green, so we are ready to go.
So they'll have an individualized login.
They could go to the bathroom if they needed to, and it would log them out and log them back in. And save where they did.
Finally, the test would end with a written response. And if you look at the bottom of that page, the bottom left-hand corner, you see they can access and click on the video, the 2 readings, the 2 texts that they would be required to read to help them formulate their answer in summary for the final question. And this is available on the sample assessment at this time.
I go home and take this.
Yes, you would be able to, absolutely.
I think this is great. I mean, this is something that I would have been more into than having the paper stuff that just seems tedious, because you just go, how much more do I have to go? But this is interactive.
We can arrange for someone to score your.
I'll come in next week. Just tell me when the classroom's doing it, I'll get it, grab my login.
The kids are very motivated.
Yeah, keeps them on task.
We'll show you a little sample of the math as well. You may want to go to the teacher version when you go to the math, because some of it, this is 5th grade, it gets very challenging, and at least you'll know why or why not.
You haven't even gotten to the test, I'm already confused.
Same concepts in terms of dragging and dropping, but here they're giving you the answer, and you have to move the parentheses instead of like guessing and multiple guess and picking the right answer. You have to move the parentheses to show how they got that answer, really assessing your understanding of the concept of the order of operations. This is 5th grade. They have some basic, just like traditional solve, but then they get into more complex paths, where here on this problem, not only do they have to explain what John did incorrectly, but then they have to solve it correctly and type it in. And they get 1 point for picking out what he did wrong and 1 point for solving it correctly. So this type of question, you can get 1 or 2 points correct. Here, instead of just, again, traditionally we just would have the multiple choice responses, they actually have to write the expression that shows that word sentence. They have to type in the values and like that. And then this is something new that, just as in the ELA, there may be more than one right answer. And they do not get the question correct.
I'm having like flashbacks.
I know. And they don't get it correct unless they get them both right.
Wow.
So for example, choose all that apply, this expression, it could be 3 times 7 plus 5, or 3 times the sum of 7 and 5. And they have to have both of them to get the correct answer. It then moves into questions that kind of build on each other and assess a combination of math skills together. Like here, they're going to be creating their own sequence, so there's multiple things that they can have that follow the rule of add to. There's no right or wrong, it just has to make sense. And then they use that to graph this sequence, so they're going to have to move these dots on a graph. So not only do they have to have the concepts, but they have to have technical skills as well. So that's a sample, a peek of what it looks like, and you can get on. It does conclude our presentation, and any questions you have, we're happy to answer at this time.
I'm just happy that there's going to be some time to move into.
Yes.
There is a transition period, whereas for some of the names it was
Just get right into it.
Here we are, so I'm happy to see that. But also I think that this is really going to be good for our students. And I think the interactive and plus our techie kids they're going to catch right on to
Well,
this.
in terms of makeups and so forth, a lot more flexibility. We won't have to grab kids by, okay, all the 6th grade writing, and we have to bring them. You can put kids they can get on. Once they log in, it's going to come up with the test that they're missing. There's going to be a lot of benefits in terms of getting kids up and things that will go along as well.
You might answer this, but what's the average length that it would be to take the test?
They're saying it's similar to, actually I think it's going to be a little shorter than Ames, like 60 to 90 minutes,
Depending on the testing grade level.
There is no time limit. They did not do a time limit.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we break, Mrs. Alvarado, when we were speaking about AZMerit previously, you asked for this presentation. Are there any questions that you want clarified before we move to take?
The question that I had was it paper-based or computer-based? And I think that the answer was that it's a variety, or that certain aspects of the test will be paper-based.
They're giving you a choice. That choice had to be determined by January 6th. Our leadership team met, and we had 100% of our principals agree that the computer-based test was the direction that we've been prepared to move our students in, and also to make certain that they are appropriately prepared with the techniques that you saw here today, that they will begin to ensure an implementation of a tech process in all of the teaching going forward. So again, we've been at this for 3 years, preparing our students for the rigor of a battery of this nature. And we know that the reculturing and the instructional process is taking place, and I have great hope for what our children are now prepared and ready to do.
Can we add that Alhambra is at the cutting edge of the computer?
We've done our work.
Because when it first came out, there were a lot of districts that were just dragging their feet. And we jumped right in and we applied for that REIL grant, and we trained our teachers, and we helped with, performance pay, and also the fact that we were successful in passing the override, which helped to get more computers. So I'd like to just
Right, that's a
add
good point to
that,
bring out.
when you're not ready, you might choose paper-based, but we have been ready now for a while, and so computer-based, we meaning the students are ready.
Well, Mrs. Hammond mentioned that all of our schools, the capacity to engage in this battery has been met in all of our schools, and that is not the state standard. And our capacity has been met because our community has been supportive and
Right.
provided us with the funds necessary to prepare our school facilities for just this process.
The aim science will still be paper pencils because
Okay.
it's A's. So that will be the only piece.
Sounds okay.
I know. Well, you can see the video, how live it is, and so for the kids will enjoy that.
Well, I think we can all agree when there's a video in class, it's the best day.
Yeah.
So having it in a test makes it better.
So thank you for your leadership, and also I want to thank all the classroom teachers who work with 25 to 30 students and are moving forward on this. That is always a big feather in their cap that, in addition to everything that that they're presented with, that they are still able to cut through all that and get to the AZMerit test, because I know that they were looking at a different test for many, many months, and then all of a sudden they said, oh, we're not doing that. We're scrapping off everything we've done, and we're going to go with the AZMerit, which it sounds like we're going to be okay. Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you. Good job.